7th of June 2023. This news flash, I'm going to talk about that dam that was blown up in the Ukraine. It is a dam that forms part of the Kakhovskaya hydroelectric power station, and it's in the Russian, take note, in the Russian Kherson region. Look at this headline photo, and right in the back you can see there is an explosion in the water there. So the Ukrainians were still shelling the thing while this image was taken. Hydroelectric dam in Kherson region partially destroyed, says the mayor. The Kakhovskaya hydroelectric dam in Russia's Kherson region, located on the Dnieper River upstream from the city of Kherson, suffered significant damage after a terrorist attack on Tuesday morning. According to Novaya Kakhovka Mayor Vladimir Lentuev. Although several of the dam's floodgates were damaged and unleashed, a stream of water had lifted the water level downstream by up to 2.5 meters. The underwater structure withstood the attack. Leontev also reported that all electricity, gas, internet and communication services remain intact while local officials are prepared to assist citizens. Now, there's a few things in this that will make some people frown. The use of the word terrorist attack. And then he says that the floodgates were damaged but not the structure, the underwater structure. Earlier this morning I read another article, and there is now questions about that underwater structure. They fear that the water force going through those damaged floodgates may damage the structure. But that is what's going on there. That dam has been blown, and already the accusations are streaming in. Look at this cartoon and you can understand what the Western media is doing with the story already. Now, usually my news flashes are quick and short, but this one has got too much meat around it that we really need to chew through. We have confirmation that the dam was seriously damaged. Nobody can deny that. But now the blame game is in full swing. Who blew that dam? Forget everything the media tells you and look at some basic facts. You know, facts. The thing that the MSM cabal really hates. Back in March 2022, this dam, as well as the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, was very quickly taken by the Russians. And the media didn't make much out of it, and the bloggers and the commentators didn't talk much about that. But it was very quick. Remember, both are in the Kherson Oblast, a region that is undisputably occupied by ethnic Russians. The region has also voted in the referendum and voted for the inclusion into Russia. So in reality, this oblast is now part of Russia. Let's not get entangled in the legitimacy of the process. For all practical purposes, the oblast is Russia. The question that you must focus on now, why did the Russians jump so quickly to take the dam and the NPP under control? At that stage, it was still Ukrainian assets. Take note of this. A. The dam feeds the canal that provides Crimea of 84% of their fresh water. This was blocked by Kiev in 2014 already. B. The dam provides the backup power for the Zaporizhzhia NPP. C. The dam provides water for the NPP cooling. So, the Russians restored the water to Crimea. The Russians secured the backup power for the NPP. The Russians secured the NPP. Why did the Russians secure the NPP so quickly? 1. They feared that the Nazis could use the NPP to create a major nuclear incident. Remember Chernobyl? 2. There was strong evidence that the Nazis were working on a dirty bomb. Same for Chernobyl. The Russians took that one too very quickly. Ukraine responded by cutting the power to Chernobyl, but the Russians saved the cooling and containment with generators until Belarus restored power to Chernobyl. These things got zero exposure in the mainstream media. Very recently, the Yanks suddenly expressed concerns about sensitive American technology in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and warned the Russians to leave it alone. What cuck is that? What technology is that? Dirty bomb shit? Who would know? From what I now know of the Americans, it was definitely not groundbreaking cancer research. Back to the topic. Shortly after the Russians took Kherson city, the Nazis started attacking the dam wall with HIMARS. You know, those US wonder weapons. Problem was, the Soviets built that dam and the HIMARS were lightweight. Same thing with Nikolaev Bridge. The Nazis maintained that they wanted to disable the rail crossing across the dam wall and not the dam wall. Funny enough, MSM did not condemn them for doing that. Meantime, the Russians started shutting down the NPP to reduce the danger of the plant because the Nazis were sending missiles to it non-stop. And the media also said the Russians were bombing themselves. Again, not a word from the West, apart from accusing the Russians of attacking themselves at the plant. Idiots! Then the referendum was held with the result that Kherson Oblast was taken into the Russian Federation. The Nazis intensified their attacks on Kherson city, and there was 30,000 Russian troops in the city and the environment around the city. Remember, the city is on the western bank of the Dnieper River, and the NPP is on the eastern bank. Things were not moonshine and roses for the Russians in the Donbass. They did not have enough manpower, and the front line stretched from Kharkiv in the north to Kherson in the south. That is over 1,500 kilometers. That's a massive front line. And around 80,000 soldiers cannot defend that. It's impossible. So in came General Armageddon. Remember that one? And his task was to stabilize the front line, while the Russian ran the now famous mobilization campaign in Russia. Yes, there were issues with the campaign, mainly logistic. They called up 300,000 soldiers that completed their national service, but in additional 200,000 volunteers pitched up. But that's another story. General Armageddon did two things that gave the MSM reporters orgasms. But the afterglow was short-lived. The wisdom of his moves showered them with ice water. He decided to evacuate Kherson city and fall back to the eastern side of the Dnieper River. In doing that, he removed the risk of getting those forces isolated and killed. He also brought all the armaments back. Then they destroyed the Nikolaev Bridge. The other thing he did was to retreat in the Kharkov region to the eastern bank of the Seversky Donetsk River. This was the defendable position for them. Once again, saving troops and equipment. The now famous Zotsi recovery attack and the recovery of a vast piece of terrain received huge applause in the media, with a lot of bullshit stories of equipment captured and mass graves, etc. All fairy tales. But the reality is that vast sections of land that they recovered was farmland. There was no people. There's basically very few people there. Back to the dam. General Armageddon was flayed in the media, local and international, but he stuck to his guns. Today, he is applauded for the wisdom of his moves. Back to the dam. The Russians were out of Kherson city, and the Nikolaev Bridge was gone, and the rail across the dam was useless. Plus, the responsible media started to frown upon the Zotsis trying to destroy the dam. Let's fast forward. The Russians built formidable defenses on the eastern shores of the Dnieper, and the NPP was very secure. Between the Russian soldiers, Wagner, and the Donbass militia, the front line was now stable and secure, plus the Russians were slowly moving forward, destroying Zotsis and NATO equipment at an alarming rate. In steps desperation and panic. The West is running out of money and ammunition and equipment, while the Russian side is getting stronger by the day, backed by a monstrous industrial war machine. What now? Of course, sabotage and terrorism. This is something the Brits are very good at. They provided the Storm cruise missiles and actively planned the terrorism deeds. And there is rumors that it was those missiles that were used on the dam. So, the day before the dam is blown, Cleverly is in Kiev, and bam goes the dam wall. Any connection? There are rumors. Now we have the following reality. 1. Crimea is cut off from its fresh water. Again. 2. The hydro station at the dam is gone. That is the NPP's backup power. 3. The NPP is running out of coolant. That is serious. Fortunately, the Russians shut the plant down, so it's only maintenance operations running there, and I'm sure they will make a plan with it. All of these things have massive implications for the Russians, and they want you to believe the Russians did this to themselves. What a stretch. More consequences. The massive flooding downstream that destroys Russian defensive structures. This means they will need more men. 2. It is hoped that the floods will clear the Zotsi minefields on the West Bank, because these minefields were now blocking their intended much-touted offensive strike. 3. Massive environmental damages, including fish populations that are now trapped on dry land. And look at this image. Shallowing in the Dnipropetrovsk region, sanitary consequences are inevitable. You must excuse me, I struggle with some of these Russian names. That is a boss up there. And then we have this. After destroying the Kakhovskaya hydroelectric dam, Kiev's regime attacked the city of Kakhovka during the evacuation of citizens. Yesterday was especially cynical and blasphemous that Kiev attacked citizens with a drone. But that is what the Nazis do. They are known for it. It is well documented, except not in the Western media. On the upside, for the Nazis, the upstream side, the Dnieper River, will now be much shallower and narrower, making crossing it easier. This places more demands on Russian manpower. What could this lead to? My feelings are that the Russians are going to take the gloves off and hell will rain down on the Nazis. I think we will see missile attacks like never before. These things do not require too many men, and the results will be devastating for the Nazis. Men, equipment and infrastructure. And it is well proven that the Nazi air defenses are in tatters and the Western wonder weapons are not so wonderful. The change over to terrorism is going to have horrible results for the Nazis and the West. The PR is bad. The world do not like terrorizing civilians and the destruction of civilian infrastructure. There are already moans rising from the ranks of the West. So in conclusion, if you just focus on the facts and stay objective and think, you have to agree the Russians are the big losers out of this dam blowing. So how does it make sense that they would do it to themselves? Yeah. Remember, the NPP is now a ticking time bomb. And the immediate environment around that NPP is full of Russians. I also have a scary feeling that the UK is going to get surprised. They are an active participant in this terrorism attacks. Just imagine they lose their undersea communication cable. They are literally on an island. Just a thought. The British is spoiling for a fight with Russia, and I cannot understand why. So, use your brain. Think. Don't let the political and fact masturbators fool you. Look at the material they take to the toilet with them. You might be surprised. So, I hope this is giving you a little bit more background of what the hell is actually going on around that dam and that dam incident. And all I'm asking is look at the facts on the table. Look at the facts and then make your own decision. Think, use your brain, think. Why would the Russians bomb their own dam? Why? Why? Just as ridiculous as the statement was that the Russians blown their own gas pipelines. What idiocy is that? But in any case, please give me a like, a subscribe, and share the thing if you think there's value in it. Have a great day.